All right, how's everybody doing? Let's go into another lesson. This lesson, we are going to talk about lists. Okay, we're in HTML. So there's two types of lists that we work with in HTML. One is the ordered list, and the other is the unordered list. So let's go ahead and look at that and see how those things play out. Okay, so I already have my file up. I call it lesson3.html. You can name yours whatever you want to. Just make sure that you have the extension HTML, so .html at the end of your file name. Okay, so one thing I'm going to introduce to you all that's not lists is comments. Okay, so comments look like this in HTML. I'm going to redo that. What I'm doing is I'm in Visual Studio Code. This is like a little trick we can use, but I think it's applicable in most, if not all, editors. What I'm going to do is I'm a Mac user. I'm going to say Command slash. If you're a PC, you'll say Control slash. Okay, and that will bring up the comments. Okay, and so these are comments. Okay, comments are essential to a developer's life. This is how we put our thoughts, our ideas down when testing things out. We can comment and what we call uncomment code or whatever if we don't want something to show. Because comments, they kind of get excluded. They don't get ran in the program, okay? So we can put a comment here in HTML and that will not show up on the browser, okay? Uh, Now, rule of thumb when it comes to comments, don't be a jerk. Don't write things that are inappropriate because even though it may not show up on, say, like a browser or program, if I go and check the developer tools and look at the source code, it will show up there. So you don't want to risk losing the job or something like that, or having a poor reputation because you have something inappropriate in the comments. Okay. So anyway, back to this. We're talking about lists. Okay. And we said there are two types of lists. We said there's ordered lists and there's excuse me unordered lists. All right, let me fix it up. So the ordered list uses the OL tag, okay, and you can imagine that the unordered list uses the UL tag. All right, and both ordered lists and unordered lists uh, will have as its child an LI. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. I'm gonna do an OL. Okay, type OL and nested inside this OL. And when I say nested, I mean indented over. It's gonna be an LI, and I'll just say item A. Okay, and I'll do the same thing. I'll say item B, and I'll do one more item, not item, item C. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with UL. It's going to look the exact same way. Say item A. I could just copy and paste, but I really do believe in typing things out a lot of times. Work smart, not hard. But especially when you're a newbie, then you want to kind of type things out as much as you can, so you just kind of get familiar with how things work. And the more you type it, the better off you'll be. Okay, so I've got those together. Um, we talked about extensions, I think, in a previous lesson. There's an extension that is out there. And again, these are all like kind of tools that you can install that will make your coding life a lot easier. But there's one in particular, Live Server. I just saw it. There you are. So there's Live Server. What this does, it allows us to it creates like a local server inside of Visual Studio Code that will run live, okay? And I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So I already have one, I already have it installed. You can install Live Server in yours, okay? Because I don't want to have to save, refresh each and every single time, particularly because that's not like the focus of these lessons. So now down the bottom right corner, it says go live. I clicked it really fast. I'll disable this one. You can see down here at the bottom right, it says go live. I'm going to click that again. And so now it opens up here in the browser, and there you see BAM. And what this does is this happens live. So if I make a change in Visual Studio Code after the delay, which is like a second, I think is what it's set as, it will make the updates here in the browser. Okay, so let's look at the order list. Order list, we see they are ordered 1, 2, 3. Unordered lists are not ordered; they're bulleted. So we don't have an ordinal system with unordered list. Okay, so order list could be used when, say, a particular maybe recipe, all right, or directions. You know, if it's a recipe, there's a certain way I got to bake a cake, right? I have to crack the egg and put it in the bowl and mix it with the batter before I put it in the oven. I don't want to crack the egg and pour it in the mess after it's in the oven, right? I don't want to do that. It's a big mistake. Also with directions, you know, there's a certain way I got to turn left, a certain place and time I got to turn left and right, what have you. So that's where an ordered list is needed, okay, when the order does matter. An unordered list is when the order does not matter, okay? For example, say when you're making a grocery list, okay, it doesn't matter the specific order when you're writing the items down. You just want to make sure that you don't forget anything, especially for like me, a husband. I'll, you know, may forget something, then I got to go back to the grocery store and pick it up anyways. Um, so unordered list is when the order of the items does not matter. Okay, ordered list is when it does matter. Another example you see back there: records, track list. It's, you know, the track listing is important. There are some albums out there that I have, as a matter of fact, where the track listing is different than the sequencing of the record, and it's kind of annoying, especially me being a DJ when I'm trying to find a particular song. So that's how order lists and unordered lists go. And you can see what we have here: a parent-child relationship. So the OL is the parent, and the LI is the child, and you can recognize that by the indentation. Writing neat code is super important because you can see the indentation, you can see the relationship that we have here between the OL and the LI. Speaking of which, this relationship, parent-child relationship, a very, very important rule that I put up here in the comments, and I say this at least 5 or 6 times in a row when I'm teaching this in my office. The only legitimate child of an OL or UL is an LI. The only legitimate child of an OL or UL is an LI. What I mean by that is this is invalid code right here. I cannot put an H2 or H3. I cannot do that, okay? That is not valid code. You can see what's happening here with the LIs, okay? They are indented, okay? They are tabbed over. And that is default by the browser, okay? So you see that's what's happening here, where I have hello sitting inside of the OL, and so it is tabbed over. This throws everything off, okay? So we don't want to do this. What you want to do instead is have that H3 on the outside, okay? That is valid code. All right, the only legitimate child of an OL or a UL is an LI. All right, now what that means is we can do something like this instead. Now this would be valid code. Instead of this just having this text, this item A right here, I could put an H3 inside of there and say hello. This is valid. Okay, so this can work. You can nest other HTML elements inside of an LI. That works, okay? That'll be fine. And it could be images, it could be video, headers, whatever. Okay, you can do that. But what you cannot do is have an element that is a sibling to an LI. So another element cannot be a sibling to an LI. The only sibling of an LI is another LI, which means that the only legitimate child of an OL or UL is an LI. Okay, cool. Something else that you can do with lists. Let's say like right here, item C, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to indent this, and I'm going to I'm going to put a UL inside of here, and I'll say item C1 and do, pardon me, got my little snippet in there, C2, and say do one more, and I'll say item C3. This is valid. This is what you call a nested list. So you can nest a list inside of a list. And you might see something like this when it comes to, say, a drop-down box for a menu in, say, like a nav bar. So this is valid. This is okay. This is acceptable code because still the only child of the OL is an LI. And we can see that here. Now this LI contains a UL, which it can do, and that UL on the inside, which is nested, contains 3 LI. That's fine, okay? And this could be broken down even more if I wanted to. And you can see that the bulleting changes depending on how it's nested. Okay, so this is pretty much it with lists. I would recommend that you just try this, make lists, say, favorite musicians, or say maybe, how to bake a cake, do a recipe. Excuse me. Favorite movies, anything that can be listed. Maybe you and your siblings, if you have siblings, or you and your cousins, the oldest cousin to the youngest cousin. I would recommend doing something like that, playing with it, just to get comfortable using an OL and a UL, and just understanding when you apply one versus the other. Okay, that's it with the lesson. I always tell you these lessons are going to be quick. Please, I got to say this now because it's my third one, so I'm trying to take this serious. Subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Really just trying to get this coding out so people can really learn how to, use this stuff. I mean, when you look at the numbers of how many people don't know how to code, it's kind of mind-boggling knowing that everybody, has a computer. So anyways, I'm Satch. Thank you all for watching, and catch me in the next lesson. Peace, power, blessings.